Det var jätte. Spuzie coming right at you. Wearing gloves, I'm gonna cook again. It's time. It's finally time. I'm gonna show you how I make my meatballs. Yes, meatballs time. You guys know that I've talked a big deal about that on the stream. Hopefully they're gonna live up to your expectations. Know that all Swedes have preferences when it comes to meatballs, okay? This is just the way I do it. You can vary your recipes, but I thought I'd show you. And this is like the only outfit you're ever gonna see me vlogging these days, because I always vlog after the gym, so there you go. All right, so here I have two things straight away. We have the potatoes, they be boiling yet. And we're gonna put some onions in here real quick. God, I should have set up my tripod. Just gonna saute these onions a little bit. Oh my God, it's dual wielding right now. Holy shit, I made a mess. Not a good start. Turn the heat down a little bit. All right, let's get cooking. But first, I want to show you guys what I got up to this weekend. I went to a festival called Way Out West. It's in Gothenburg. It was a lot of fun. Here's what it looked like. Now we're gonna go inside and hopefully listen to some great music. Wait to the vlog! I'm gonna have to give you a little hug. Very nice guy.
And here I am.
And here you are. I can't get rid of this guy. Ooh, wow. Now this man is here.
Hello! YouTube!
Always delivering. It is the last day and it's raining today, so that'll be good. But people are still dancing. It's wet and it's cold, guys. But the music keeps playing. Look how cute this guy is. Look at him. Look at his little hoodie and his little thing. Oi! People are having a bath. That's so cozy.
Transition!
Alright, let's get down to these meatballs. These are the ingredients you need. You need some black pepper, some white pepper, some salt. You need some fond or broth, bouillon, whatever it's called. Mine is based on calf, but you can use regular meat or chicken or whatever you want. You need some fresh eggs and some minced meat. This is 50% beef and 50% pork, which is ideal. And then the secret gross looking ingredient. This is a mixture of milk and breadcrumbs. Now, I don't really use recipes that often. And of course, like an idiot, I didn't really measure this one, but you want to get it to a consistency that looks kind of like a porridge, but is really fluffy. You don't want it to be hard or stiff. Don't put too much breadcrumb in there to begin with. Wait a little bit, because it's going to take a while before they suck in all that milk and start swelling. But this is primarily for the texture of the meatball. This is going to make it fluffy, delicious, and awesome. Like I said earlier, you need some sauteed onions, and don't fry them off too hard. You want them to just be slightly translucent. And then of course some potatoes. You're going to mash those later. We need some whipped cream, we need some soy sauce, and some good quality butter. And now we can begin. So let's start mixing. I would say that you need about maybe 20%, 15% of the gross porridge to the amount of minced meat you have. If you put in too much, the meatballs are just going to fall apart. If you put in too little, you're not going to get that fluffiness going. Experiment a little bit with this and find what you like. We crack in one of our little eggs. We put in the onion, quite a liberal amount of black and white pepper. I personally like when my meatballs are a little peppery, and it's a really key ingredient to them tasting good. So, but if you don't have a good hunch, just take a little bit less. You can always add spices, but you can never take them away, okay? A little bit of salt in there. We don't need too much because our fond that we put in next is also quite salty. So put that in there. Yeah. And then we get mixing. I personally feel that it's best to mix by hand. I'm using gloves because I don't want to get my equipment all dirty. Once you get it all thoroughly mixed, you can put it in the refrigerator if you have time, or you can roll them straight away. If you put them in, it's just going to make the whole mixture come together a little bit better. So if you have the time, do it. Then we start rolling. Put a good amount of oil on the surface or plate you're going to put the meatballs on. Otherwise, they'll just stick, and that just sucks. Lubricate your hands with a little bit of oil or water. When it comes to the size of the meatball, it really comes down to what you prefer. It's a personal thing. I feel like I go with a pretty average medium size. Try to make them as evenly sized as possible. If you make one super big and one super small, it'll cook unevenly, and that's not good. All right, look at those beauties. We're going to get frying in in a bit. The potatoes has softened nicely. We're gonna drain the water real quick. Then we're gonna go in with a hefty nub of butter and some milk. You can use cream, but milk, I don't know, a little bit healthier. And then I start off by going in with a musher, or whatever that is called, potato press, maybe, to just roughly get them going to begin with and melt that butter. Get some salt and some pepper in there. And also, my dad always put a little bit of sugar in there. I don't want to put too much, but adding a bit of sugar really lifts the potato, makes it taste real good. Then I go in with a whisk, and here is where you determine the consistency. I find that mine is a little bit too thick, so I add a little more milk. Again, better to start off with a little bit and then add later, because it's hard to remove once you've added, yeah? You want the mashed potatoes to be smooth, fluffy, and nice. Some people like to add cheese at this point. I personally felt like, yeah, this is a pretty rich dish as it is, so we don't need the cheese in there. All right, perfect. Now we can fry our meatballs. Use the same pan you used for the onions. There's absolutely no need of cleaning it because there's free flavor in there. Get some oil in, a big knob of butter, and then we can get frying. Now, if you're patient here, it really pays off. I use a pair of tongs to just turn them over like one by one because I want to make sure they don't break. And because of the gross porridge we had in, they are slightly more fragile than like a normal meatball without it. But make sure you get some good color on all sides. When you do it similar to my size, it'll probably only take a couple of minutes on each side on like a medium to high heat. Pluck the meatballs out on a plate. Oh yeah, they're looking good. Well done, Spuzie. Now for the last bit, we're gonna use all that flavor that is in that pan. You can see some onions have fallen off. There's the fat that we fried the meatballs in. That is which means good in a language that none of us speak. We're gonna make a sauce out of this. Put in some water and then a little bit of flour. This is gonna thicken the sauce and stir it around on a medium-high heat until all the little lumps of flour are gone. Then we go in with some cream, a little bit of soy sauce, and let's put in a bit of that fond as well, why not? A little bit of pepper, we don't need salt. Bring it up to temperature while stirring, and when you got it to the consistency you like, you are done. If you wanna be real fancy, you can put the sauce through a sieve. If I just cook for myself, I don't tend to do this. But if you're serving someone you wanna impress, then why not? It doesn't take that much effort. And now we can plate it. Some mashed potatoes, get some of that lovely brown sauce, that's what we call it in Sweden. Get your meatballs involved in the story, and then of course traditionally you need lingonberry and some pickled cucumber, or pressgurka, as we call it in Sweden. This is the traditional way of serving this dish. I didn't make the cucumber myself, although you can easily do that. I just didn't have the time, okay, I'm sorry. And there you flip and have it. Ooh la la. That's a spicy meatball. It's actually not spicy, but it's a meatball. Oh my god, this is so good. Now this is a very old Swedish traditional dish. It doesn't really allow you to do much with the presentation. So it might not look that good, but damn, it's gonna be tasty. So here's the thing, friends. When you do meatballs this way and you get the mixture of the breadcrumbs and the milk just right, you're left with a meatball that is intact, but when you put it in your mouth, it just flipping sort of like melts away in your mouth. And when you buy like frozen ones or like the ones in the store, heck, I'll say it, the ones at IKEA, they got this sort of like bouncy texture, and people don't seem to know how like good it can be when it just give it a go. If they're too mushy, just add a little bit less of that mixture, and with a little bit of practice you'll get them just right. Washing up done. I hate that spot. It was like that when I moved in. Got a ton of food still left. Excellent. Why is there always noise when I'm recording? Zero respect for vloggers. The lawn is turning out nice though. Alright, I'm gonna take a shower. I'm gross. Woo! Check me out, guys. Almost look like a grown-up. Me and my friends going to a restaurant. Hence the look. What do you think? Pretty tight, huh? Alright, before we end the vlog, question of the day. This one comes from Nicolas Maldonado, and he says, regarding the song that I played in the previous vlog, can someone make a remix of that song, XD? Here's my IRL XD face, by the way. It's pretty tight. Magzor actually replies saying, working on it, amigo. So yeah, Magzor, let's see if you deliver. Although I do want to say as well that our good old friend Vixento, who all of you should know by now, the talented person whose music I use for a lot of things. For instance, you heard it earlier when I showed you what I did at that festival in Gothenburg. He's a beast. He reached out and he said that a lot of people have been asking about it, and yes, everyone in the comments have been talking about that Vixento should do a remix on it, and he's working on it, I think. He reached out and said, should I do it? And I'm like, yeah! He said try though, so let's not put too much pressure on him. I'm sure he's got his hands full as well. Maybe it won't work out, but you know, fingers crossed. And the moment he potentially finishes that, I'm just gonna post it everywhere. So if you're watching this kind of late after it's been uploaded, maybe the song is actually in the description. That's gonna do it for this little vlog, guys. Click here to subscribe, click here to watch the previous vlog where I play you that stupid song on my piano. I love you.